So following on from that, in terms of social media, there's lots of people who say, don't show this, don't put that on, don't put that picture on, of certain aspects of shooting. What are your thoughts on that? What do you think we should or shouldn't be showing?
It's a largely a matter of personal judgment, but the fact is that we kill things.
Yeah.
But you've got to be careful about that, because I was shooting yesterday and 8 guns from 9 o'clock in the morning till 4 o'clock at night. Shot 40 headed game.
Okay.
I shot half a dozen pheasants. And so the actual killing bit occupied probably 7 seconds of a day that ran for 6 hours.
Yeah.
And so there is a risk that you focus on the bit that upsets people,
yeah,
and not on the generality of stuff. But I think as long as it's in context,
yeah,
it's fine. I personally don't like piling up dead stuff and taking photographs of it, or even dancing around it, or whatever. But that's not what I do. You should treat it. It is essential that people understand that we treat our quarry with respect.
Yeah.
That it is not something you just did for fun. It is something which is part of a way of life.
Yeah.
And where those things are treated from the time they're born to the time they're eaten.
Yeah.
In a respectful and sensible way.
Mm-hmm.
So as long as it's in that context, it's not a bad thing.
Yeah.
It will always be misinterpreted and attacked because people don't like it. It's not. When I was a boy, you'd have whole pigs hanging up in a butcher's shop.
Mm.
It tends to not happen so much now.
Yeah.
For the bizarre reason that people don't like to be reminded that they're eating a pig.
That's what they're eating, yeah.
But it is a pig.
Yeah.
And I mean, years ago I was on a phone-in programme, and a farmer's wife said that she didn't like shooting, but and I said, well, what sort of farmer are you? And she said, we farm pigs. And I said, well, what happens to the pigs? Are that you grow them, keep them for their wool? And she said, no, we send them to the abattoir where they're put to sleep.
Yeah.
And I said, I have to break this to you very gently, but they're not going to wake up.
Yeah.
They're as dead as a pheasant is.
Mm-hmm.
So will you stop trying to separate chalk and cheese?
Yeah.
So but it is a matter of context.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the context is vitally important. I mean, if you look at a grouse moor, some grouse moors this year may have had one day.
Mm-hmm.
So the men and women worked on that moor for 365 days.
Yeah.
They kept it looking beautiful, and then they shot some grouse one day.
Yeah.
Some days, some places, none.
Yeah.
But on a typical year, they might get 10 days, a dozen days. So the other 358 days,
yeah,
they're not killing anything.
Yeah.
But they're working their socks off.
And doing a lot of good.
And doing a lot of good.
Mm.
So it's wrong to focus on these little bits.
Yeah. It's interesting, as a photographer, I obviously photograph shoot days for people. I did one a couple of weeks ago, and probably the really hard shots to get are birds that are really high in the air and things like that. And you can post them on social media and you get a kind of an alright response to them. But I posted multiple photos of different members of the day smiling or laughing or having a good time, or group shots of the whole keeper and community there. And that got a huge response. And that was probably one of my most liked pictures on my social media, because when I go on a shoot day, that's the part I think of. And that's the part many people think of. It's meeting up with your friends, having a catch up, seeing people you haven't seen for a long time. And especially with COVID and what's just happened. So I think you're completely right. It's focusing on the most important parts of the day, which is not always the shooting.
That's right. And that's why getting people to come out.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's one of the things I've always done. So, talking to somebody about it, and they show the least bit of it. Well, why don't you come out? Well, I can't shoot. You don't have to shoot. You can beat.
Yeah.
You can, just come and watch. You can stand next to me. I don't mind. And as soon as they do, they're caught up.
Yeah.
Because I'm not a monster. I don't spend my life dreaming about killing stuff. I like going shooting.
Yeah.
Which is a whole body experience.
Mm-hmm.
You look forward to people that you cannot overestimate the importance in these remote, isolated communities of the community spirit that is engendered by shooting.
Yeah.
So a typical day's grouse shooting may be paid for by 3 or 4 rich people, but it enriches the lives
Yeah.
of dozens.
Yeah.
And it ripples away into the local community.
Mm.
And so if you go in, I went in a few weeks ago into newsagents in a village in Teesdale, and I was dressed to go shooting. He said, "Where you going?" So I told him, "Oh, well, so." So we start a conversation.
Mm.
He's interested in shooting. He never shoots,
Yeah.
but he sells newspapers to shooting people.
Mm.
And he likes shooting people, and they like him, and it's just part of life.
Yeah.
And that's what it is. It's just as much part of life as black pudding.
Yeah.
You know, something has to die for black pudding. It's blood and fat and pig's intestines, for God's sake.
Yeah.
It couldn't be much gorier.
Mm.
But nobody demonstrates against black pudding.
Yeah.
And it's seen as part of life, and shooting's part of life.
And this is, I had a conversation recently with someone who was very interested in nutrition. They're, into their fitness and everything. And that's another point to put across is these birds have grown up in the wild, they've led a stress-free life, they're in their forests or on their heather moors, having a great time, eating their natural food, their natural diet, living their natural life. And they're just so much better for you for that. And I think a lot of people forget that, but they still eat meat.
Mm.
So like you say, when you explain to them where that chicken's come from that they're eating, it's not much different to a pheasant. Yeah.
Well, the other thing I do is give people pheasants and stuff.
Yeah.
And occasionally give them young grouse. I was saying to somebody yesterday, I've never given anybody young grouse to eat that hasn't come back and said, if you get any more of those.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they're sort of like a bit like a forbidden substance. But if people, the more you can do, that enables people to feel that they're part of it and to understand that it is part of the nature of things.
Yeah.
Human beings became human beings because we had to be clever to catch stuff. We can't run as fast as other stuff. We can't fly. We can't swim as fast as stuff. The only way we catch stuff is to be clever.
Yeah.
And so our desire for protein and hunting stuff made us clever.
Mm-hmm.
And so for the last 250,000 years, anthropoid apes and us have evolved over it. For the last 100,000 years, we've been more or less like us. And nobody has complained about killing our own food.
Mm-hmm.
The last 3 decades, it's become an issue.
Yeah.
Well, is it likely to be, who's likely to be on the right side of that argument? I think we are, because the thing about catching your own dinner is it's been sustainably produced, it was humanely killed, it was treated with respect, and you did it, you took responsibility for it.
I think you appreciate it more.
You do, and not only that, it's more justifiable.
Yeah.
The alternative is somebody else killed it, you don't know how sustainable it was, you don't know how humane it was, and you don't know whether it was hygienically treated or treated with respect. So it's no competition.
Yeah.
And if you add to that the point you've entirely probably made, which is that it's actually more nutritious and it's more natural,
Yeah.
for God's sake, what's the alternative?
Exactly.
Mm.